Get me that signal. We need more power.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We interrupt our regularly scheduled program to bring you this special report. Our news team has uncovered a disturbing plot which seems determined to teach our youth the ways in which a nuclear bomb can be built by using common household plutonium and enriched uranium. And it does so in the form of a game called the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project was designed by Brandon Tibbetts and is published in the USA by Minion Games. That's right, I said Minion Games. There is some foreshadowing present in even the publisher's name, I fear. Let's take a look at the back of the box. Global power struggle begins. Which nation will take the lead and become the world's dominant superpower? The Manhattan Project makes you the leader of a great nation's atomic weapons. It doesn't say our great nation, it says a great nation. In a deadly race to build bigger and better bombs. You must assign your workers to multiple projects, building your bomb-making infrastructure, expanding your military to protect it, or sending your spies to steal your rivals' hard work. You alone control your nation's destiny. You choose when to send out your workers and when to call them back. Careful management and superior strategy will determine the winner of this struggle. So take charge and secure your nation's future. Yes, folks, though you might simply assume this is a plot by communists to subvert our youth, we at News 5 believe that there's an even deeper purpose. Let us uncover this deeper purpose by taking a look inside the box. The Manhattan Project is a worker placement type game for 2 to 5 players ages 13 and up. It takes about 2 hours to play. The components consist of a main board. There's individual player boards right here. There's a deck of bomb cards. Some yellow cake cubes. Yellow cake. There are different contractor tokens. Here are the blue laborer tokens. Look, those suckers are thick, man. I mean, they're thick. There are also engineer tokens. They have a hat. And scientist tokens. Woo! They come in later. There are also contractor tokens which have no color at all. They're black and white, but they can be hired by any player. Aside from that, here's a closer look at one of the bomb cards. This is a plutonium bomb. There is delicious money. And we have a deck of building cards. These are the things that you build onto your player board during the game. Ooh, look, a reactor. A factory. At the top, it tells you what you need to put in, and at the bottom it says what comes out. So, if you put an engineer on this factory, you'll either get your choice of 2 fighters or 2 bombers. See, the slash means or. I know, it's crazy. Look at this one. You put an engineer into this university, you get 4 laborers out. Now that is crazy. It's just crazy. And during the beginning part of the game, you set up using the cards with the red backing in the initial spots on the board. We are going to take a closer look at that board. But before we do that, let's take a look at this rule book. I kind of really like this rule book because they set it up like it's a newspaper / magazine, and it's actually quite good. It's got a lot of examples in it. It's got plenty of pictures, and I just found it entertaining even to look at. So they got that going for them. I like that a lot. The object of the game is to score enough points to win based upon the number of players. So, for example, this is a 2-player game. You need 70 points to win. You score points by building bombs, and you build bombs by playing the game. At the start of the game, you're going to have 4 laborers in your color. And during your turn, you're either going to place your workers or retrieve your workers if you've placed everything and you don't have any more workers. You can choose to place a worker on the main board at the start of your turn, but you only get to place 1 worker on the main board each turn. Your other workers will go on the other boards, usually your board, once you begin putting up buildings on your board. Why don't we go over the main spots on the board? Now let's take a closer look, as I said, at this main board. Now, this whole top row right here is the construction row. Over the top of that row, it tells you what it's going to cost you in money to purchase that card that's there. And this is where all those construction cards are going to go. For example, here, you could buy this factory for either 2 monies, or if you use an engineer by placing it into this construction area, you get this card for free, which is kind of nice. So that's what you do. If you're going to construct a building, you go ahead and plop your dude down there, you pay the cost, and then you take the card, and that card goes into an open spot on your player board right down there. And now this factory is immediately available for you to use if you want. You could take these other 2 workers, put them on the factory, and then pow, you get what it says on this card. You get a fighter and 2 monies, which you take immediately, and it's all yours. So the minute you build something, you can use it. Let's take a look at the other spots on the board. We also have mines. These mines allow you to get yellow cake, and yellow cake is very important for getting plutonium and enriching uranium, which you really need to do because the whole purpose is to build bombs. This one here says it's going to cost you 5 to get 4. This one here, it doesn't cost anything, and you get 3, but the other players also get 1. Every other player gets 1. This one you have to put an engineer here. These other ones you can put any type here. But this one, if you put an engineer here, you get 2. Once it's filled up by a player, no other player can use that spot until it gets cleared again. We also have the universities. Put somebody there, you get 3 laborers. And those usually come right out of the contractor pool. You pull those dudes out and they're immediately available for you to use. You can get an engineer, a scientist, or you can pay $3 and get an engineer or a scientist. Up here, you've got your airstrike. Now, every board, you start the game with 1 fighter and 1 bomber. And throughout the game, you can get more, and you can lose some too. An airstrike is, well, you send your fighters against another player's fighters or bombers, and once you wipe out another player's fighters, you can attack that player's buildings, like their factories and stuff. What this enables you to do is you end up putting damage counters on them, and then they can't use those buildings because they're damaged. But of course, it leads you down a path of destruction. Once you start blowing other players up, they're going to want to blow you up, and then you're concentrating on just blowing things up rather than
doing the great business of building bombs. So keep that in mind. There is a way to repair your buildings via this repair space right here in the middle. You also have your aircraft building spots, your money getting spots. You've got two ways here to get plutonium or uranium by putting a scientist there and 2 yellow cake, for example. Here are your plutonium and uranium tracks. Every player starts at 0, and as they get more plutonium and uranium, they move up the track. When they actually go to build a bomb, they're going to spend that uranium and plutonium. This is where you design a bomb. The first player to put a scientist and an engineer there triggers the first round of designing a bomb. Now you're always going to have enough cards in the bomb cards in play, which equals 1 more than the number of players. So the person who puts their stuff there picks up these bomb cards, right? These are uranium bombs, they're the red ones, and the plutonium bombs are the blue ones. You'll notice the plutonium bombs have 2 numbers at the bottom. Initially, all your plutonium bombs are worth the first number, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So you look at the cards, you pick one for yourself, and then you hand the cards to the next player. He picks one for himself. Then they hand the cards until all the cards are gone. The person who first picked the design bomb box will end up with 2 cards. Because it'll come all the way around, they'll get the very last card as well. So once you've got your bomb cards, now you know what you need to do in order to build a specific bomb. So for this one, you need to put 1 scientist, 2 engineers, and 4 things of plutonium onto this card, and that will allow you to build this bomb. It's immediately worth 9 victory points right there at the bottom. To make it worth this second number, 16 victory points, only for the plutonium bombs you have to do a test. So to test a bomb, what you have to do is you take your card that you just built, your plutonium bomb, and you put it back at the bottom of the deck. Discard it. Then you get to take the highest valued implosion test card. And the highest one left here is the 6. You take that and you get the 6 victory points. So you just gave up all those victory points so that you can get this 6. However, for every future plutonium bomb that you build, it's going to be worth the higher number. Any plutonium bomb that you build, even if you built some before this that you didn't implode, they're all worth the higher number from now on. So that's how you do that. And the final thing you can do is load the bomb onto one of your bombers. It says right on here how much it costs for you to do that. Here it costs 1 moolah, $1. And if you do that, you get to take one of these little loaded counters and put it onto your bomb. That gives you a bonus 5 victory points. It also costs you 1 bomber though, so you got to move your bombers down by 1. The last space that I didn't talk about yet on here is the espionage space. Yes, there is espionage. So you can put one of your guys here in this spot and pay $3 right there. And then every player has a little counter that goes on this track. You would move it up 1 spot on the track. And once you've done that, now you can place your little tokens on other players' buildings for this turn. So it's only for this turn. So you can take if they have an open factory or whatever space on any of their boards, you can use it like it's yours, which is kind of nice. Not only do you block them from doing stuff, but you get to use some, hey, I really needed that one factory, but I didn't get it. Hey, but now I can use espionage to get it. And each time it becomes your turn again. If you want to do espionage again, you have to pay. You have to put a dude there, and you got to pay again. You know, so it doesn't happen a lot, but you do get to use it. The only other thing on here is that some of these spots have this little red dollar sign on it. That's a bribe. So every time you use one of these actions that has the red dollar sign, you take $1 out of the bank and put it into this bribe pile up here. And this slowly increases in order to get the person, whoever buys this spot, gets to take all the bribe money. So that's a way to get people to recycle the buildings, moving them along. See, once you buy a building here, you move all the other buildings down, and then you flip over a new card from right there. That is basically how you play the Manhattan Project. The first player to accumulate enough cards, built bomb cards, to reach the victory point amount, wins the game. That's all there is to it.
The Manhattan Project is really a lot of fun. I'm a fan of some worker placement games, but not all worker placement games. It has to balance the amount of options available with complexity so that you have enough options to keep you coming back to play over and over, and yet it's not too complex so that you get lost playing the game or you feel unsatisfied because you were not able to build everything you wanted to. Now, I know you can never build everything you want to, but you should at least feel like you've built something good. Manhattan Project does it right. It doesn't feel like a Euro, and that's the kind of Euro I enjoy the most. There is player interaction with the espionage box and the airstrikes. I prefer playing without the airstrikes because once the bombs start flying, it gets hard to stop them. But they do become a necessity at times if you need to stop an opponent in their tracks. Be careful though. You might just be leaving yourself wide open to attack from a third party. The game feels like the right length, and I'm really looking forward to trying one of the 2 expansions. Second Stage adds hydrogen bombs, and Nations lets you represent a specific country during the game. Overall, if you like worker placement games and building bombs is up your alley, then I highly recommend Manhattan Project. Thanks for joining me in this review of the Manhattan Project from Minion Games. Let me know if you found this review helpful by leaving a comment or sending me an email at elliott_miller@voiceofe.com. Make sure to subscribe to the Voice of E channel on YouTube, as I'll have plenty of gaming, entertainment, and comic book coverage this year, and it should be a lot of fun. Thanks again, and until next time, keep your mind free.
Get me that signal. We need more power.